A heartbreaker on Liberty Mountain. The Flames, for the first time this season, get beat on their home turf. A lot of points that we are going to talk about in this game between Liberty and Virginia Tech. We're going to start out a little slow, and then maybe we'll get a little fired up. Matt Warner is dressed to the nines, so you know
Listen,
he's
somebody
really
needs to class this place up. That's all I'm saying. You know,
I was cold last week, and so I put on my little bit of my
golf shirt last
fall
week.
collection.
I was like, we can't do this.
Yeah, well,
and
hopefully.
I will not. There we go.
You gotta take that call. Yeah, tell him you gotta wait. You're in a podcast.
And then I will not be
lame this week?
I will not be accused of having low T this week. There will be not. I talked to Frank Thomas. I talked to Doug Flutie.
Oh, no. Okay. Here we go.
This is powered by Alcova Mortgage.
It is. That's good.
The Flame Central podcast, powered by Alcova Mortgage. Okay, let's dive into this one.
Yeah.
Give me your first takeaway from this game, and then we'll go into maybe some of the game management a little bit later. But first, your main takeaway.
Well, my main takeaway, I guess, or one of the first ones that comes to mind is we've been waiting for that big return all year, right? And now, Joe, you've said a few times you thought it was going to be DeMario in the punt return game, and he was going to pop one. And we finally got one, Shedro Lewis, and it came at a time when Liberty desperately needed it in the first half. We think so much when you think about this game about the fourth quarter and what happened late, but if he doesn't pop the 97-yard touchdown run with the way the offense struggled throughout the day, like, it may not be a game in the fourth quarter.
Right.
So to spring that was such a huge play. Good for him. We've been waiting for him to bust one like that in the run game, and he really wasn't even a part of the run game almost at all in the first half. And to take that kick and take it back to the house, that was such a huge spark for the Flames. And really, you felt like, okay, they're back in it, because it was in danger of going the other way at that point.
Yeah, solid day in general for the special teams. Nick Brown.
He was great.
Had 2 field goals, 47-37. So that
banged him through.
That was
like with confidence.
Well, that's
high on the net.
Good to see.
Remember at the beginning of the year, it was like, who's our kicker? Maybe a little, I think Liberty's found its kicker. I wish he would have got one more crack at it there.
Right, right. The defensive line has been such the glue for this entire team this season. We saw a great showing from them as well on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you say, what's the one thing you take away from individual standpoint? I mean, Darrell Johnson is a serious prospect.
A monster.
I mean,
First in the nation now in tackles for loss.
I mean, he is a serious. I actually talked to an NFL guy today about him, and he has been talking about how he's really coming up on the boards, and his draft stock's improving as definitely draft, and he's moving up. He's moving way up.
Yeah.
And so his length and then the aggressiveness with he played, they started slanting him a bunch, getting him down the line. He's so fast and athletic that he was eating that stuff, getting after the quarterback.
Yeah.
He did it. So from an individual standpoint, that was like, whoa, he against a Power 5 really good opponent. He's done it against Arkansas.
He's proven that he can
do it across the board.
Right.
So take away individually for him, as a team, I agree with the special teams, but then there's on the negative side, there's a few things. I think the one thing where Liberty missed out big time, and which I think would have helped them win the game a lot, was after they got the safety.
Yeah,
they got the safety.
Absolutely.
They returned I think DeMario returned the punt around the 45, 50, somewhere in there, and they stalled out right there. With the momentum of getting the safety and then getting the ball back, if they were able to take that momentum going and score, I think that would have really carried them.
Liberty started actually on the Virginia Tech 48.
Yeah.
So you start on their side of the field.
That was a good run, yeah.
You get stopped for a 2-yard loss on a run, incomplete, 2-yard gain, punt it, and there you go.
And you don't see those safeties very often. There's not a lot of safeties in football. So when you get them, you really feel that momentum and get pumped up. Then you get the return, and you're right there. And
you're thinking with the way that game was going and the way you were starting to feel like the Liberty defense was playing, you're like, man, if we score a touchdown here, if it's a 2-possession game,
that's what I mean.
Even as early as it was in the third quarter, middle of the third, you're like, man, that's going to be tough. Yeah. That's going to be tough for them to overcome.
Because you felt in that third quarter that defense was starting to flex. As McKendy Charles,
whether it was a Walker coming back, gave him a boost, or they just figured some things out up front, whatever the case was, it was different in the third quarter.
Yeah, they were flexing.
Yeah, they shut him out in the third quarter, and Coach Free said after the game, the defense didn't look like themselves as much in the first half, but in the second half they came out to play. Back to Darrell Johnson, when we were talking to former defensive line coach Josh Aldridge, and now he's with the linebackers, but he worked a lot with Darrell Johnson. It was interesting that he was saying that Darrell Johnson's skill set works well for both of the defenses that are played in the NFL.
That's why his draft stock is you can play him. In most defense NFL either really run a 4-3 or they run a 3-4. So, he can fit either one of those defenses.
And he's just like
I mean, for a 3-4.
What
for-
is his
so-
wings? Do you know?
I don't know.
I mean-
For a 3-4, if you get an NFL 3-4, that's the defense that he could play in, being outside, and defensive end guy.
And it's just really cool to see him like use this extra year because he was supposed to be
Well,
gone last year. Didn't he
Good
get
for
injured
him
late?
because
yeah.
he was hurt some last year, underwhelming when he was out there, and part of that may have been due to the injury. And
Yeah.
we said at the beginning of the year, like, hey, if there's anybody that should be motivated,
Yeah.
it should be this guy to bounce back and show what he's all about. And to his credit, he has been better than I could have
Yeah.
even imagined,
Right.
better than he was even 2 years ago.
Yeah, Aldridge also saying he's becoming a complete player, which is pretty good timing for that. Okay, so something I want to mention about after the game, Virginia Tech. Did you guys see what they posted on social media?
Oh,
Their
them dancing in the
celebration.
celebration.
And like Liberty fans are just saying, yeah, like celebrate. But that's pretty cool to see that if you're beating the Liberty Flames, you're going to celebrate like that.
Okay.
Or is this just a team
I mean,
that got their
no,
third?
I think I do think that's what fans say to make themselves feel better. It's like we
Tough
lost,
loss.
but look how much it means to them. That tells you how far we've come.
We
Well,
do the same. Liberty
They were a
does the same
2-win
thing.
team. They're gonna they snapped a 7-game
Yeah.
losing streak.
Yeah.
They're going to celebrate like that
Yes.
if they beat UMass. They just
I was
wanted
gonna
a
say
win.
UConn,
Yeah,
but-
they just wanted a win.
That's a
So
low
yes,
blow.
I'm sure. Is it
That's a
sweeter?
low blow.
Is it sweeter?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little, but like, let's not get it turned. Like, I think that's kind of one of those spin zone things where you're like, well, how can we make ourselves feel better? Well, it's because it means so much because we're so great. It's a big win,
No.
but they were just thrilled. Like, for
They
that
were
coaching
happy.
staff, for that team, like if
Yes.
you limp into the off season on
Yeah.
what could have been a 9-game losing streak,
And they did
Oof.
it their way, the way they want to do it too. They did it by the fake field goal on special teams.
Defense.
They did it by
Run
getting
game.
turnovers when it really mattered, and then they had the drive when it mattered, and they ran 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
They ran the ball inside the tackles in the red zone and scored touchdowns. It's like, hey, when you have 7 losses in a row,
Yeah.
and you're saying, do you really believe in what your coach's identity wants it to be?
Yeah.
And for Coach Pry to say, guys, we can do it. We
Yeah.
can do it the way that we're trying to build this thing to do it was a big relief.
It's funny you
for
say
them.
that. As I was driving home, their post-game show, I heard a bit of it, and they asked one of the players, like, how exciting is this? And he goes, honestly, it's more just a relief.
Yeah.
Like, this win is like more of a relief than it is
Yeah.
even a celebration. And I think that's what it was for them. Just like we're not going to go into the off season, a 2-win
And to win
team.
and to lose so many close games.
Yeah.
To lose to NC State, Georgia Tech,
Yeah,
ODU,
ODU, yeah.
they had all these close games. To win a close game, I just think meant a lot. Like you said, a relief.
You mentioned turnovers. That's something that Liberty did turn over the ball twice. Our Liberty's defense is pretty good at turning over or getting those turnovers. Didn't happen. Was that can you
it.
point the
That's
finger
it.
to
That's
that
it.
in this game?
And we actually talked about some on the pregame
Yeah.
show with Rhett and the boys, is that we've talked so much about Liberty's defense creating turnovers, and they have. They've been one of the best in the country at it. But what maybe has kind of gone under the radar because of the success Liberty's been having is the Flames have turned it over a ton.
Right.
Like, Liberty's turned it over 23 times this year. Only 5 teams in the nation have turned it over more than the Flames.
Wow.
So you think the defense and all that they've been doing, but the Flames have had a lot of empty possessions where they've been giving the ball back.
Right.
It cost them against UConn. You had the scoop and score, and then you get the 2 fumbles in this one late that certainly cost them in this ball game as well. So like ball security, taking care of the ball, like that's been a
what does
reason
that
for
point
struggle.
back to? Them turning over the ball so much? Is it
Well, I mean,
just the inconsistency of who's playing quarterback?
No.
Or miscommunication?
No, I mean, I think what you saw happen down the stretch is, to be quite honest with you, Virginia Tech made a decision when Caden Salter went in the game is they were going to go heavy blitz on him. And they started blitzing him, and the offensive line just didn't do a good use. There was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Now, quarterback's job is to protect the football. Like, you can't turn it over. You got to take a sack. You can punt. You can do different things. But he was under a lot of pressure. And the one that JB, he had the guy on him right away.
Yeah.
And so the O-line, not to say our O-line, but Virginia Tech's defensive front 7 really, really stepped up when the heat was on and it really mattered.
Do you think, because we've had these conversations, and I think most of the fans have, boy, it's the old cliche, right? And sometimes there's truth to it. The whole, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any,
Yep.
right? And there is, I think, some truth to that. When you're bringing guys in and out, it's hard to establish a rhythm. At the same time, if you're Coach Freeze, you say, if you want a chance to establish a rhythm, make some plays.
Right.
Or you're going to be sitting by me and I'll find somebody else to try to establish
Right.
it. But like, I wonder if part of that, even just like the feel for the game, the feel of like recognizing what's coming when, like all those things when you're coming in and out of a game like that, if that just changes, if that's different for a quarterback, that you're kind of, you don't know, like, am I gonna be yanked out of here if I don't go well? Like, if this doesn't go well, you know what I'm saying? Like,
No, I know
or as the
exactly.
defense changes even within a game.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see it the last 2 series because I was
Right.
on the bench. At least I didn't see it like I would if I was standing there, behind center.
When you don't have a solidified quarterback position, okay, and then you're really training 2 guys. The job that, and I think Coach Freeze and Coach Austin have communicated this probably very well to JB and to Caden, and that is, listen, if you get taken out of a game, that doesn't mean you've been benched.
Yeah.
Like, there's a big difference between saying, "Hey, you're not getting it done. You're getting benched, right? You're not going to see the field again." That will really mess with your confidence. But when you go into a game and you're a quarterback and your mindset is, "Hey, I may play a few series. If I'm really hot and playing well, I'll probably continue to play a few series. If I'm not, then he's going to give the other guy a shot to be able to come in and then see how he does, and I may go back in myself." So I think mentally, as both those guys prepare, it keeps them sharp to be able to do it. The hard part is exactly what you said. Now you don't really get to work through bad series. Like, you're not get the chance to come back out there and work through a bad series, and so the next guy's going in. So you start to press a little bit. I think you can feel that they can start to press. But Coach Freeze is in a difficult situation because when you look at Caden throw the football, when you just watch him throw,
Right.
the ball comes out of his hand different.
Yeah.
Okay, and JB's good. Don't get me wrong; he throws a good ball, and he's done a really good job. But the ball comes out of Caden's hands a little bit different, and then his ability to be able to extend plays. So they're in a really tough spot right now, but you'd definitely like to see them find one.
So would you guys say you're surprised that we saw so much of Caden on Saturday? Because, yes, the UConn loss, but JB pulled off 2 of the biggest wins in program history.
Yeah.
So is it a surprise that we're seeing Caden Salter get that playing time when JB's got the job done?
I mean, I've kind of flip-flopped throughout the year, right? Because early in the season, with the way Caden played against, Wake Forest, I'm like, this has to be the dude. Why wouldn't you just run him out there and give him the job, let him go through his growing pains, and go for it? At the time, Freeze was very critical. He was very honest about, like, hey, he's not grasping the stuff that we want him to. Like there are things that I'm seeing that he's not seeing yet. And so he kind of kept, I don't know. Then the injury happens. Then JB comes in. And now I was on the other side of, okay, well, JB has shown enough in winning those 2 games to say, we're riding with you.
Yeah.
We're riding with you. And Salter gets healthy enough to get him back out there, and it hasn't really clicked for him. But, like, I do think JB is the kind of guy who, there's some guys, Joe, who just, they're not going to wow you. They're not going to make those big splash plays. But if you keep putting them out there, they kind of just grind it out and find a way.
I agree with that.
I think he's one of those guys. And then when you aren't giving him that opportunity, you're kind of limiting your chances for him to eventually find it.
And I think Coach Freeze almost feels the same. When we interviewed him the week of the game, it was like, because I sort of pressed him on that a little bit. I was like, hey, this guy, JB played well against BYU, got the win, played through 3 touchdowns, he's already got the win. Like, those are 2 of your biggest wins in school history. Don't you want to say, hey, this is my guy, I'm going with it? And he was like, yeah, maybe. But at the same time, he's also making the argument that Caden also is an extremely athletic. He gives you another dimension. And so do you keep him on the bench for a whole game when he has the opportunity to play well also? So he's in a tough spot, and it's glad it's him, not me.
I would not want that to be making that decision. Another positive from this game is the crowd. I mean, over 23,000 people. I mean,
at one point in the second half, I think you even said, like, just during a commercial, like, whoa, this turned out into it's a great football environment.
Because you have to think, like, a lot of kids can have gone home, being on fall break. Again, I put in for us to have a fall break. No time off.
None.
Like, it is just exhausting.
You might have had a little other time off.
Okay, so obviously.
I think we're well aware of the time off you've taken.
Obviously.
As my wife would say, you're gallivanting.
Running
around, gallivanting around the world.
The 2 costly 4th quarter fumbles, helped Liberty, kind of throw away the game. But what else was the issue?
So tell us about your engagement. Where was that at?
Not to change the subject.
Down the stretch. What can you say about?
Before we get to that, can I say something else before we get to that? Because we want to get into the 4th and 12 call, because I know there's a lot we want to say about that. One thing I did find interesting in this game, so this was tied for the fewest amount of rushing attempts in a game this season for Liberty. Go back to the Gardner-Webb game, just 29 rush attempts. 19 of those were quarterback runs. So you had only 10 carries from running backs.
Like, where was TJ Green?
TJ Green hardly got on the field. I think he got, 1 carry, 8 yards, I think is what he ended up with.
Yep.
Shedro Lewis, 9 carries, 64 yards. The running backs, they averaged like 7.5 yards a carry. They just weren't used a whole lot. In fact, in the first half, I think Shedro Lewis had 2 carries. I think you even asked Freeze at the half, like, are you going to get Shedro involved more? Because he had 2 carries going to the break.
If you don't, he's just going to go.
And the thing about Shedro is, once again, a game feel thing, is like when he broke the kickoff for 96 yards, he had the one run where he bounced and went down the side. It's like 29-yard run. It's like some days.
Like those were basically his yards right there.
Yeah, but that guy was sort of feeling it.
Yeah. So that was a little bit surprising there, especially if you felt like, boy, we're going to have a hard time blocking them in the pass game. You know, just trying to kind of keep them honest with some other things, and certainly down the stretch that was a problem. They were all over the Liberty quarterbacks.
Yeah, they ramped it up. They ramped up the blitzes later in the game, which is good. I mean, Virginia Tech, they made a decision to come after the quarterback, and it worked out for them. That's how they got their turnovers.
Right. What also worked out for them is the 4th and 12 call that Coach Freeze made. I just want to throw this out there. You guys are going to be the ones talking about this. I believe in Coach Freeze.
Listen,
all of his
first off, let's get that out of the way. Because I hear that all over the place.
We know that Coach Freeze is making good decisions, and he's a great, phenomenal football coach. This is part of the job of reporters and people to media to talk about what could have been.
I criticize Emily all the time.
Yes.
That doesn't mean I don't like her.
Yes.
Right?
We've already told you this. You're special. Yeah. People like you. Okay. Yeah. So what if we're a little critical at times?
See? So it happens. That happens. That's been something again.
That just really, really surprised me.
Well, it surprised all of us. And that's one of those things. What do we base a lot of this conversation around? We base it around, like, what am I hearing at church on Sunday from everybody and their brother that wants to come up talk about the game, right? It's this. Like, this is it, 4th and 12. Like, that's the first thing everybody's saying after the game. It's like, boy, what did you think of the 4th and 12 call?
What was it, 5 minutes? I think it was 5 minutes to play?
4:12, something like that is,
Well, so Virginia Tech got the ball after that with 4:28 left.
Okay.
So Liberty, here's the setup. Virginia Tech, 40-yard line, 4th and 12. And Freeze decides to go for it. Now, in his postgame presser, he said, and he hasn't had his press conference yet today when we tape this, so we don't know. Maybe he'll have he'll explain it a little bit differently. But in his postgame presser after the game, he said, the analytics, whoever's kind of mapping that out and tracking that, called down and said, analytics say to go. And so he said, wow, really? Okay, well, all right, then let's do it. And he said, well, you don't want to punt it in the end zone or some things like that, so we go. So that was kind of the end. He said, and we got the ball back anyway. So we still got the ball back. I guess my argument, and I think the argument we were making even in real time, because when he decided to go for it, Joe was quick to say, I don't know about this, is number one, yes, you got the ball back, but where did you get it back on the field? If you look and see, you got the ball back on the 22-yard, your own 22-yard line with 3:19 to go.
Yeah.
So you got it back, but you got it back without good field position.
Right.
If you pin them deep, you get it back, and all you need is a field goal, remember?
Right.
So maybe you get it back. Let's say you even get back at your own 40.
Right.
Well, suddenly
when your offense hasn't been really
that's
driving the ball down the field anyway.
All you need to do is try to get in field goal range. So that's a big difference there. The other thing, obviously, is 12 yards. I mean, your offense, 12 yards is a lot.
Yeah. I actually wonder up to that point when the last 12 or more yards were made.
Well, and then go ahead.
And my thing is that you have to the feel of the game. What's the feel of the game?
That's what analytics don't show.
Yeah, analytics don't show the feel of the game. And 4th and 12 is a tough from an analytics point. 4th and 12, what's the percentage you're going to get a 4th and 12? Pretty low, especially in the feel of the game where they're really getting after you. So my whole thing was then you've got a punter who's only had 3 touchbacks the entire season.
So yes,
has had 23 or 20 some punts inside the 20-yard line.
Here's 20 inside the 20. He's had 53 punts, only 2 touchbacks. 20 inside the 20. And in this game, he had got a fair catch at the 10. He had one at the 6, I think it was one of the 6 that ended up resulting in the safety.
So Aiden Alvis is a really good pooch punter.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's proven that. So the odds are you're going to pin them probably back pretty deep. Okay. The other part of it is your defense is playing pretty well.
Yeah.
And you know at that point, especially as conservative as Virginia Tech was in the game already, that they were going to try to run the football.
Yeah.
So you can stack it up, try to make them try to run it, get a stop. And now if you can get the ball back with that extra 20, 30 yards you did before, because of a struggling offense, my whole thing comes down to this, is that I would rather have to only make 2 or 3 plays on offense in order to get in field goal position, right? Because you're not making a lot of plays as it is. If you're moving the ball up and down the field, great, but you're really not. I'd rather only have to make 2 or 3 plays to get in field goal position instead of having to make 6 or 8 plays starting at the 20-yard line.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of why I was really
and you go back and you look at that play, 4th and 12, like, I don't think there was a receiver that may have even been able to get 12 yards downfield before the defensive line was in Salter's lap.
Right.
So
was it that drive or was it that possession where it seemed like Salter had 20 minutes to throw the ball? And then he decided to run. I thought it was
on that one, he
ran
and he decided to run, but he was sacked.
They were coming pretty
yeah.
hot.
But it seemed like he had so much time to throw the ball, and I don't remember if anyone was open. I couldn't tell from where I was on the field. But can I ask a really, maybe possibly stupid question or crazy?
No question.
Why what's Nick Brown's furthest field goal?
49. He's hit it twice.
Oh,
but
okay.
he's also going into the wind. So keep that in mind, too.
Yeah, he was going to win.
So that 4th and 12.
That's another reason why that yardage, I mean.
Really
I guess here's my big thing, and we've seen it now 2 weeks in a row. And in part, I really do understand it because, again, we're not trying to – we all think Coach Freeze is great, right? We don't. Yeah. But I understand from Coach Freeze's perspective, offensive guy, that's on his shoulders.
Yeah.
He's the one that really when you're talking Liberty offense, it's his face, right? He's the one in charge of it. Yeah. So you get at UConn, you're leading by 5. You know what? He's going to take it, and he's going to run the offense out there on a 4th down that didn't work out instead of letting the defense try to go out there and do the job. Same situation here. 4th and 12. The defense has been the strong point all year long, but Hugh Freeze says, I get it. This is my offense. This is my side of the ball. I want to get this done. And I understand that from a human nature's perspective.
Part of what makes him good.
It makes a lot of his success.
Sense to me that way, but I think with the makeup of this team, the flow of the game, how it was going, you lean more on that defense to give you a shorter field, to give you a better opportunity than you do say, hey, Caden Salter or whoever, we know we haven't been moving the ball, but go get us 12 yards. That's tough.
Yep. I mean, I'm just saying, because I don't even know when they had a completion that was 12 yards or more within that time frame. But I would let Nick Brown just launch it.
And to be fair, too,
I'd rather do that than Caden Salter run around and get sacked.
Going that direction,
that's why I'm not.
You were going to have to get a little closer because the wind was a problem.
I think that I don't know what the right call was, but it would. If Aiden would have punted the ball and they would have had better field position, I could just see them having more success.
The bottom line is, though, you turn it over twice, you don't force any.
Yeah, that's
you go to that.
And we talked about that in the broadcast. It was I really felt as if this game, as it was progressing, it was back and forth and just sort of a slug match. And I felt as if at some point in this game, one of the defenses, you
even said it, I think.
One of the defenses is going to make a play to cause a turnover that's going to decide this game.
The other thing, though, too, just think about this. The second turnover, the fumble for Bennett, that was after you went for it. You're the one now backed up.
Right.
And think about a defense and the level of aggressiveness you can now have when a team is backed up like that, as opposed to if they're out at the 40 or out at the 45.
That's right.
So then they're pinning their ears back. They can be aggressive, and JB just trying to make a play in that situation. You've got to go 80 yards or whatever, or 60 to get in field goal range.
Still got to secure the ball.
You know what also was another momentum shift in the 4th was when Dejon Anthony had that hit on the 2-point conversion, and you guys were at break and didn't know.
Yeah.
I could see the ref taking another look at it, and they were going to call it back. And I think that you should have seen the Liberty sideline. I was like, okay, they're about to come out here and get a field goal or score some points, and still.
Yeah.
wasn't able to
Great game.
take advantage of that
Great
moment. It was
Great
a
game.
great game.
It's a great game.
And credit that Liberty defense, who's they said, oh, we were flat against
So
UConn.
good.
Like they showed up.
Mhm.
They showed up. They played really well, and just couldn't quite get enough.
And credit, and the other thing is when that Virginia Tech, where you can give them a ton of credit, is when they took chances or made plays, they capitalized on it.
Yeah.
When they faked the field goal, which was
Yeah.
a great, they executed it. It didn't catch Liberty's defense completely off guard.
Yeah.
He had option. Oh, nothing's there. I actually got to pitch this thing. They practiced it, but they didn't want to pitch it. They pitched it, and then the kid, makes receiver look like or kicker look like a running
Freshman
back.
kicker,
Freshman kicker. He looks he's like probably just scared to death out there. So I just don't want to get killed. He ends up making guy miss and gets a first down. But then after that, they scored.
Yeah.
They went for a touchdown.
Yeah.
When they got the turnover,
Converted 2 fourth downs on that drive, I think.
yeah, convert to it. And when they got the turnover in the fourth quarter, they took the ball down and they scored.
Yep.
Mhm.
Opportunistic.
Very optimistic.
Yeah.
Yep.
That wasn't the case for
But
Liberty.
having
or
said all
USC.
that, it's still a positive sandwich.
Let's go. Come on.
right?
The
Positive.
positive sandwich is if you're buying a home,
Yes.
I have a guy for you.
Yeah.
The Flame Central podcast, if you weren't aware, is powered by Alcova Mortgage.
You cannot go around the stadium. You cannot flip on the radio and listen to the game
That's it.
without
That's
being
it.
just slapped in the face with Joe Yacht.
Joe
Yeah.
Yacht.
It's everywhere.
Joe Yacht.
Man,
I'm
man.
listening
You know
to
why?
him
Because
in my ear.
because I'm
care
for
about
the
the people.
I'm with the people. I'm of the people. Right? And I want to say, Emily, I want to thank you that your introductions as a coach, to watch you progress along and become
1% better every
you're getting
day.
a little bit better, We started out with you berated me and belittled me and tore me down
Yeah.
as if I was unable to get a hold of me, right? But now
I get
you
confused sometimes.
transitioned that really in, and you're doing it. You're doing a great job,
Yeah.
Joe Yauch, Jauch.
On the Google machine.
And we go straight to the Google machine, take you to the website, bada bing, bada boom, almost too easy.
He's not difficult to get a hold of. Okay, sorry to interrupt you, Matt. We had the
Positivity.
priorities.
Give it to me, Matt.
3
Positivity
losses
sandwich.
this year by a total of 5 points.
That's so crazy.
Now, on the flip side, you also had a 2-point win at Southern Miss. You had a 1-point win against
That's a
Gardner
fun
Webb,
season.
A 2-point win against Arkansas. So it's
It's
kind
a
of been a
fun
balance,
season.
right? There's been some
Yeah,
on both
my
sides.
heart
but yeah.
rate has been.
What a year. Every single game.
Been a
It's
fun
been right
season.
there.
Another
Love the
question for
Flames.
you guys.
Yeah.
So late in the season, you come off all these big wins like
Mhm.
Arkansas, BYU. Now, I'm not saying the Flames don't have anything to play for, but you're not in a conference. Matt's mentioned this a few times. Could that be the reason for just the? I know
No.
they're playing. They're not. It's not like they're playing bad, but is there just like a
No, I do think
lack
there's
of motivation?
No, I think there is an added challenge for Hugh Freeze and his staff in that you don't play in a conference, so you don't have those built-in oh, we're still in the hunt for a conference title.
Right.
You don't have that carrot there.
Right.
You don't look at the scoreboard and say, oh, look what they just did. Now we have to. Or they lost. Now if we
Yeah.
win today. So you lose some of that. Now, a coach will tell you, or any good player will tell you, that shouldn't affect your motivation.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
level is
but
X, all that stuff. But
it has to. A
there
little.
is something to it, and I do think it is more difficult. Listen, this is the second year in a row we've seen down the stretch. It's been a struggle after Liberty has reached bowl eligibility. And so I would say, yes, that's an added challenge. I haven't heard anyone use that as an excuse, but I do think that is the added challenge of being an independent and not having those other factors that go into a season.
Mhm.
I think one of the hardest things is as you watch a program progress, right? One of the hardest things to do is to be when you play in this is why the Power 5 conference of Virginia Tech, they've been playing against NC State, against UNC, against Georgia Tech, against
Week after week.
week after week after
Mhm.
week. And so when you have to play BYU and Arkansas, Liberty showed great maturity and be able to come out and beat BYU and then turn around and play Arkansas back to back. Well, can you do that?
Well, they had a bye week. But
They had a
still.
bye
Right,
week,
right.
but it was their next game. But can you do that over a long, sustained period of time? And now all of a sudden you got to play Virginia Tech too. And I think
Mhm.
that's maybe the length of the season and how hard it is on the players. It takes time to be in, you look at these teams in the SEC. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what's so impressive. Alabama's got to go play Tennessee, then they got to play Georgia, then they got to play. It's
Yeah.
like week after week. it takes time to build a program where you can get your kids and the culture to be able to do it for an entire season.
I mean,
it's
look,
difficult. It's not
8-3.
easy.
If we at the beginning of the season, if you looked at this team, and I mean they're a great team, but if you looked at this schedule and said we're going to be going into the last home game, regular season game, 8-3.
But here's the other thing, and I know I've heard that a lot too. Like, oh, we shouldn't, you shouldn't be bummed about it. We're better than we thought we'd be. But when you raise the expectation,
that's right,
as a team, as a coach, well, I mean, this is what what comes with it, right?
Yeah.
And was it? I think it was I've heard Richie McKay say before, like the expectations. That's a privilege. The pressure is a privilege.
Yeah.
When you build these expectations because you're playing well and the fans expect more of you, like you don't get to then turn around and be like, well, your expectations are too high. Well, that's your fault. You built them. You know what I mean? Because you've been good.
Yeah.
So again, 8-3. It has been a great year, and it can still end up being a great. You can still get to 10 wins. That would be incredible.
You know what I like, maybe
Yeah.
more through all this stuff, what I really like and I've seen just from being around here a long time is that you're seeing like a passion for Liberty
People
football
care.
starting to they care before like they're really starting to care and become like getting the criticism. You shouldn't have gone for 4th down. You should have done this.
And to be
this.
honest,
it's good.
The criticism
It's
that is
good.
heard here in Lynchburg
Yeah.
is
Nothing.
compared to what
Would
is
you like
happening
to talk
around
about
the
that
country.
Auburn job right now?
Yeah, like nothing.
We know
We're
how
not
you love
going
to
there.
bring.
Yeah.
You know
We're
you
not
love to
go-
bring
I
that
wasn't
up.
going to go there.
You know
It
you're
is-
bringing
You know
up.
she's gonna go there
talk
with
about
the
criticism.
holidays are here.
When she starts like this, that's when you know it's
Yeah.
heading that way. Yeah.
No, I'm not even going to go there.
I thought you were going to ask him at halftime for a second.
Oh no.
No,
Wait,
I didn't.
what?
No,
I
no,
didn't.
no,
I'm
no,
just
no, no.
kidding. I said I
What?
thought you were going to ask him at halftime. You know, like when you do your halftime interview with him.
Oh,
Yeah,
no, come on.
I'm just kidding.
I'm a professional.
Yes, don't you?
Great first half. There's a lot of buzz going on.
Have you talked to anyone?
Yeah, right.
You know, has
Because real
Auburn
quick
called
before you
Yeah,
go.
Want to mention men's basketball. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I wasn't at
What a
that
game.
game. Matt, tell me just the.
What a game.
It seems like I mean, obviously Richie McKay has been building
Yeah.
this program the last 4 years
Wow.
as well. So
That place was
the fan,
in
I heard it was rocking.
pure shock.
Yeah.
As like you're 3 or 4 minutes into the second half, Liberty's down 26. And I think it was about the time where I said something to Naz about like, well, this looks like one of those woodshed games where, it's just all
Take
that's
it.
it.
Take it and move on.
Get out of here. Yeah,
And then-
get on the plane
And
to
then,
Cancun.
boom.
And
You
then
look
a
at the play-by-play.
26-0 run. I've never seen anything like that before. Unbelievable. Couldn't quite seal the deal down the stretch. In fact, that's another one of those Damian Sordelet get on this stat where it's like, if you go on a run of 20-0 or more, like I gotta think the numbers say you win like 99% of the time. You know what I mean?
So
But
crazy.
you're down 26. They dug
a
a
lot.
hole, played bad in the first half. But good to see them really bounce back, and they're in Cancun for a couple of games. And
Yeah, that
You know,
they
you-
forgot
you-
about that
Yeah,
loss
that's
already.
in the-
You know what's amazing about that whole thing? It's Matt Warner's on the call for that game, right?
And then he
not
goes
that
and does the
not,
call for the
not
Virginia
Matt
Tigers.
Warner needs his tires pumped anymore. But when we came in up a couple hours before the game, we're up there hanging out. It was like he starts telling me about it, and I said, "Man, I bet you're going crazy." And he's like, "Yeah, my voice,
yeah.
he's going like that." And I said, "Oh boy!" I started getting a little bit worried. And then you just see the pure look of confidence.
Fake
He
it
said-
till you make
He
it.
said, "Joe, there's nothing to worry about. I got this."
See eye of
He
the tiger.
never- He see eye of the tiger.
See eye of the tiger. Yeah.
Why do you?
I mean, just keep
his head's
pumping,
gonna
pump his
explode
tires.
here.
Just keep,
No.
Quickly,
No.
New Mexico State. Do you want to touch on
Yes,
that real fast?
let's touch on New Mexico State before we get to our Flames fantasy update.
Yeah. So
and bold predictions.
and bold predictions.
Oh my god.
New Mexico State 4-6. They just had a 3-game win streak snapped. Watched them a little bit. They were at Mizzou on Saturday night. They lost 45-14. I'll tell you this: they have a quarterback, and he got dinged up in the second half, but I think it sounds like he's good to go. Diego, am I boring you that much? Emily, with the biggest yawn you've ever seen. Some people give kind of
What
subtle
is
cues,
that?
like wrap it up.
we
Emily
weren't
just
even
goes.
on the wide
Emily
shot.
just goes, yeah, that's
What a
enough. That's
yawn.
enough. Okay.
And
It's
thank you
exhausting.
for watching
Yeah.
Flame
Yeah,
Central
okay,
podcast
that's my cue.
powered by Alcova Mortgage.
Yeah. The Aggies.
I pulled it off.
Yeah,
it wasn't
you
even
did.
All right,
on
go,
me.
go the Aggies.
Diego Pavia
Diego
is their quarterback.
Pavia. That is
6
a
foot.
great name.
That's a great
JUCO
name.
transfer quarterback, 6 foot. He plays Joe Like every snap, he's thinking of that guy that told him, "You're too small to do this."
I love it.
He's
Let's go,
feisty,
Diego.
I'm gonna have
he's
fun.
scrappy.
Yeah.
This
He
guy.
runs all over the place.
So he
he
gets
is
killed.
fun. Yeah, he's gonna take some shots.
Take some
Oh
shots.
He
my
is
gosh, Kenny
fun.
Charles.
He's fun to
He's
watch.
gonna eat him for Thanksgiving.
He's fun to watch. One other interesting stat, though. Yeah, unbelievable. One other interesting stat to look at. This is
Yo, keep going. Just keep going.
We
keep
have
going.
got to pull it together. We
going.
have like 5 more minutes.
Keep going.
I'm
keep
trying
going.
to bring the people something
Yeah,
of
something
note
of
here,
value.
of
Not Kenny
value.
Charles eating the
Yeah.
quarterback. Put him on
It's
a
going to be a
Mexico
Liberty
State
celebration.
has
Just
allowed
tune
only
in.
All right.
13 sacks this year. That's top 30 in the country. So they've done a good job of protecting their quarterback,
Oh,
or he's been
wow.
fast and been able to just scamper away. So
Yeah.
we'll see if that defensive line, who is now, I think, second in the nation in
Oh,
sacks,
something's got
we're
to
able to
give.
get to him. That's the
Wow.
old something's got to
The
give
old
game.
something's
gotta
The old
give.
something's got to give
Exciting.
game. Liberty, a 23.5-point favorite at last check.
Come on, let's come out to the game. I know it's Thanksgiving weekend. Bring all the family out.
We'll be there. I think-
Students
yeah,
aren't
don't look at the
here,
weather.
so it's.
Oh, you got the,
Is it gonna be freezing rain?
I don't know.
don't worry about
Oh
it.
my
Joe and I
gosh.
don't have to worry about it. You
Yeah.
look at the
Yeah.
weather. You need to
I-
We
prep.
need to look at the weather.
How was your? Was it cold down there, or were you? all right?
It was pretty cold. Yeah, it was. Once the sun came up though, a little bit higher over the stadium, it's not as bad because it's just amazing how much the sun heats up that
Oh,
turf.
it's unbelievable.
I mean, I was over like by the production truck where it's like all concrete surrounding you. But when you're like actually on the turf and I'm running around, do you know how much my Apple Watch recorded that I ran during that game?
you run a lot. But here's
Yes.
I'm gonna say you went for 3 miles.
Guess.
Let's say you did 18,000 steps.
7 miles.
That's
Wow.
impressive.
I
You
will
know
show
what?
you because I didn't do anything else.
You
that
know what
day.
it was in the booth? It was 72 and sunny.
I hate you guys.
When they opened the door, there was a little bit of a
Yeah, I was like,
Seven
can
There
you,
miles.
was
can
a
you
little draft,
yeah,
and I said,
close the
"Ooh,
door,
can you please
please?
close that?"
Just
Oh
a
my
draft.
gosh, you guys are
But
the
then I went
worst.
and got a hot
Yeah.
chocolate.
You got a
outside
hot
our game,
chocolate.
so I was-
Grabbed a piece
yeah.
of pie at halftime.
You
Yeah.
guys are the worst.
Yeah.
All right, favorite Thanksgiving food. We were going to talk about.
Somebody asked me this today.
What is it, Joe?
Yeah. You know, at first I said mashed potatoes and gravy, but then I went
Yeah.
with the Dina Yock sweet potato casserole,
that's
and she has like the brown sugar crusted
Oh,
on top with
yes.
the pecans on.
Oh,
like that.
I like that more.
you
I
know
don't
what
like
I'm
the
saying?
marshmallow on top.
Yeah,
I like
but
what you're talking
the
about, the pecans and the
little
brown sugar. That's that's
bang.
good.
I mean, I look for
I have to go.
green bean casserole.
That is
too, I'm a big
underrated.
fan
And
of.
don't fancy
highly
it up.
underrated.
Don't fancy it
Don't
up.
fancy it up.
You don't need any, just a
Don't
little,
keep it
simple.
little crunchy onions
Little
on top.
crunchy onions on top.
Little cream of, was it cream mushroom soup?
little
Like, don't
cream of
fancy it up.
fancy.
I mean, you didn't
It's
get this
beautiful.
fired up
Stuffing,
about Liberty
big
football.
stuffing guy.
and then you put-
Again, don't
you
fancy it up. Stovetop is fine.
Right,
You know, that's
You know what?
nothing
We're
wrong
not
with
gonna
that.
ask for it. Let's
Why
go-
do we not eat stuffing all year,
What-
Joe?
That's
Answer
a
that.
great question.
Why do we limit it to Thanksgiving?
That's a great question. So let's go ahead and for the folks, let's tell
Yeah.
tell how it goes. Right, you got your mashed potatoes, your gravy, sweet potatoes beside it, right there with the little crusted.
Oh,
little-
really?
Yeah, right beside.
Okay.
Right beside, little surf and turf
Yeah,
kind of action,
yeah.
right? And then you got your green bean casserole,
Yeah.
right? And then you got your turkey loaded up with turkey,
Yes.
right? And then a little bit of corn, right?
Just so you
Corn,
feel
maybe,
like you're doing
just feel a
due
little something,
diligence
maybe a little
there.
bit
Yeah,
of corn
something
right there.
healthier, yeah.
Right, and then I got a funny story about this, by the way. And
We are
then
out
we
of
load that
time.
thing up with gravy. One time, this story's worth being
Okay,
told.
all right, all right.
One time, my
Emily's gonna yawn
my
here.
mother-in-law,
Yeah.
who is an outstanding cook,
Nana?
Nana,
Yeah.
and we eat dinner every Sunday at Nana's house, right? One time, she always takes a chance on one thing,
Yeah.
right? And at every Thanksgiving,
4th and 12.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a 4th and
It's
12.
a 4th and 12.
It's a 4th and 12.
Yeah.
So she always takes a chance on one thing.
Yeah.
And so one year it was the jalapeno chutney, right?
Oh.
Jalapeno chutney. And I was a little bit suspicious
Sure,
of it, right?
yeah.
Do I
And
know it?
So
Isn't it kind of like a schmear?
yeah,
Like
maybe
kinda jellyish
sorta,
ish
yes,
kinda
yeah,
stuff?
yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, no,
So
that's
you
exactly
didn't try it.
yeah. So the jalapeno chutney, right, was not a hit.
Oh.
Okay. So we had this dog,
Yeah.
right? And so on Thanksgiving Day, we don't give the dog a lot of food from the table and stuff, but on Thanksgiving Day, I always sneak off and I fix the dog a full thing of
That's
plate of
great.
food,
And?
That's
right?
great,
I fix the
yeah.
dog plate and then I take it and I give it to the dog, right?
That's nice.
So nobody really liked the jalapeno chutney.
You got a lot
so
of
we,
Doesn't do
so,
that for his
chutney.
so
wife,
wait, so,
but that
so
dog.
wait, so the dog gets the full plate with the jalapeno chutney.
Yeah.
on it. We come back. The only thing the dog didn't eat was the jalapeno chutney.
Wow.
So that became a very running
Yeah,
joke
swing
within
and
our
a miss,
family.
Nana.
You gonna make
Yeah.
that jalapeno?
Yeah.
So a
chutney?
couple Thanksgivings ago, I'm like, why is Stan? Sometimes he eats leaves, so when
I
he's going to the
remember. You told
bathroom,
this
I have to
story.
like pull.
No, you told this story. People are so
I-
scarred
Tell the
about
people
the
again.
Yeah.
Tell the
turkey
people
bag
again.
story.
So, you
Oh, gosh,
have to
why?
kind of help Stan finish
No.
his, you know,
No, why?
number
No.
twos whenever he eats all the seagrass at my mom's lake house. So he's doing that, and I go
No.
back. We're on a walk, and he's like, you know,
No.
squeezing, and
No.
I go to help him, and I'm pulling, and I'm pulling,
No.
and
You're
I'm
helping.
pulling,
No,
and I'm
no.
pulling, and I'm pulling, and I'm everywhere.
Here you just show up
I'm
on every
everywhere.
monitor
Look at
here in the
this.
studio. This is
So,
bizarre.
It's the turkey
It's my
bag.
worst nightmare.
He got the turkey bag.
Yeah.
The turkey bag.
He got the turkey bag. So,
Yeah.
all right, we got to finish up.
That was.
But
I like yours.
I guess-
better.
My story was a lot better. than
Yeah,
yours.
that
it was
disgusting.
it was bad. But
Can I go bold predictions real
bold
fast?
predictions
Bold
real
predictions.
fast.
Bold predictions.
Fantasy. What happened in fantasy?
All right, first, Emily had JB 250 yards, 3 touchdowns.
That's
That
bold
didn't work out.
prediction.
I had 2 tight end touchdowns.
That didn't
Not great.
happen.
Although Bentley Hanshaw had a nice catch.
You did.
And then Joe had Rocket Rahimi, 2 interceptions.
didn't happen.
That didn't happen either. So we were a big
Matt,
over.
look up at your
Yeah,
screen.
I know. This is frightening. Just Emily on every monitor. This is bizarre. All right, do you have a bold prediction, or do you want me to go to Flames Fantasy?
Go Flames Fantasy.
All right, Flames Fantasy. Here we go.
Yeah, let's go to Flames Fantasy.
You have
Emily was running away with it. We know Joe had a huge week last week to climb back into it. This week, Emily just 19 points. She was led by Darrell Johnson, so she's at 361.4. Joe
Come on,
with
baby.
20. Yeah, crunch the numbers. Joe with 27.2 points.
Come on, baby. Come on.
Mario
Close the gap.
Douglas was great. Javon Scruggs led the team in tackles. Javon was great. He had a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played really well.
Joe's at
Couple big
345.4. You are 16 points back. Boy, she can hear those footsteps.
Remember when
Hear
she
those
was doing?
footsteps.
Remember when she was doing the whole crown
Oh,
thing
yeah.
a few weeks
Yeah,
ago?
yeah.
Just fit me from the crown.
She's already done a
Easy
photo
on
shoot.
that crown.
She's done a photo shoot
Easy
with
on that.
the Flames Fantasy League trophy already.
Easy on
Yeah.
the crown. Okay.
And then finally, I only had 31.1. I had a good week. Ahmad Walker's with Cheddar Lewis. So I closed a little bit of the gap. I'm at 317. It's going to take a miracle for me. I'm throwing all my weight behind Joe.
Yeah, come on,
To
baby.
complete the comeback. He's people's champion.
He's a
Joe
people's
Yacht.
champion. Yes,
Whatever,
100%.
whatever.
100%.
You
We'll
want to skip
see.
bold predictions? You don't make one.
Let's go. Bold predictions. Let's do it.
What do you
Why,
got?
why
Quick.
stop?
Diego is going to be sacked
Pavia.
5 times.
5 sacks for Liberty.
Wow.
All right.
All right, go ahead, Matt.
I'm gonna say Shedro Lewis goes for $130 and 2 scores.
Okay. I'm going to go with Demario Douglas goes over 150 with 3 touchdown
Wow.
catches.
Whoa.
Wow.
Or touchdowns in some way or the other.
Okay.
Okay, senior day.
All right,
Senior
senior
day.
day. Come
Moving on.
out to Liberty Williams Stadium for Liberty's
Noon kick.
final regular season home game. Great to have you guys on the call for one final
One
week.
last
Let's
run at it.
celebrate. Let's have a Liberty football celebration for 3.5 hours.
That's what we
do it.
plan to do.
How about we do
That's
that?
what we
Oh,
plan
How
to
about
you were
we
do.
going to
do
do
that?
it. You couldn't hold out, could you?
We're going to have a Liberty
You
football
could flip
celebration.
that.
So if you want to
Flip
tune
that.
in to ESPN Plus, we may have a couple cameras working, a couple
Oh,
replay angles. For Matt and Joe,
See
I'm
ya.
Emilia.
Emilia.
Yeah,
Emilia.
Diego.
Emily Austin.
Emily, we'll see you right back here next week. Blame Central Podcast, powered by
Oh, cool.
Cobo Mortgage, baby.